Friends, lovers, and all the others, we're back again with another episode of Pod from the Bunker. If you're in the chat right now, last episode we had a little bit of audio issues with my audio. Is everything sounding okay out there? Hopefully so. Welcome to the show. This is an interview show that I do once a week with a different musician or artist or streamer. So we try to get different creatives on. Last week or earlier today, if you're on Twitch, we had a visual artist on. Today we have a current potter, but he is an artist of many, many forms and a very interesting fellow. And I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about him that I don't already know. I frequent his streams when I can. He has a very zen vibe to his streams. It's very cool when you watch him doing some potting, and he's been doing some sculpting lately, which is also fun. So let's bring him in and we'll talk to him right now. His name is Mr. Rhyno Lion. If you'd like to find him on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Rhyno Lion. Go give him a follow over there and we'll talk to him right now. Good sir, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being on the show. I know that you're a busy man with a family and a stream and a life, so I'm very gracious to have you here today. Generally, I start off this stream with some pretty, open-ended, deep questions. I would like to ask you to start. What is art to you?
What is art to me? I think it's anything that can evoke emotion. Usually I'd say created deliberately, but that's not necessarily always true. I think that art can be found accidentally as well. But yeah, it should make you feel something, even if that something is revulsion. It's still art.
Absolutely. And you are an artist of many forms. And so where does creativity come from for you?
Where does creativity come from for me? I'm a really impulsive person. I'm just naturally I've got that kind of ADHD buzz going on underneath the surface all the time. So really, I'll just sit down to a project and let go and just let things happen. I find that when I try to seek creativity, it doesn't really work for me. What if I sit down and deliberately try to make something? It generally will not come. It's when I sit and allow myself to just get absorbed in a process that I'm the most creative.
How do you know that something is going to be something that you commit yourself to or get addicted to or get that? I call it the bug in music, but you've tried many different things on your stream, and so when you try something out, what is that feeling that makes you say I need to pursue this in a larger way?
I'm not sure that I'm very good at that, because when I get the bug, uh, whether it's brewing or painting or pottery or RC cars, or like one of the 20 different hobbies I've had in the last couple of decades, uh, it always feels like, yeah, I'm really into this. I'm going to master this, uh, and I I go for it, and it's really just depends on how good a fit it is for me, personality wise, in the moment, uh, what I'm able to put into it, um, and that will determine how long I chase it down. Pottery is probably the longest lasting uh, artistic pursuit that I have continued with, that I can think of.
What would I be able to rephrase that as? It's the pursuit of, how do we say this? The pursuit of mastery, I guess.
That's Yeah, that's what I'm interested in, is
And
not just pursuing the idea of constant improvement and pursuing excellence, but trying to figure out what that means to be a master of something. I think there are a lot of different ways to look at it, and the definition will vary from person to person. So it's something to think about, even for yourself at home.
yeah, what about mastery in art, because it's such a subjective, open-ended thing? I guess that would come from within yourself, reaching goals that you create for yourself.
That, I think, is a good ideal, to be able to point to yourself and say, I have mastered this. I feel like that's really difficult, that kind of self actualization. And what people are looking for is for somebody else to point at them and say, you're a master at that craft or at that art.
Hmm.
And I don't really know when that gets decided or if there's like a committee or something, you, but
Yeah.
probably anybody who's like deeply involved in their craft or their art, whether it's music or painting or pottery, um, the deeper they get into it, the more likely they are to kind of scoff at the idea of mastering the process.
Hmm. I think the stages of growth are just something that it fulfills you along the way. So pursuing the mastery is almost like a small pursuit of happiness and grabbing these new skills and learning how to do things better and better and doing that 1% per day thing, which I see you do. If we could bring it back to sort of like the beginning of your streaming story, you started out with watercolor.
I actually started, step one was streaming native off of my Xbox. It was
Oh,
just like farming simulator,
cool.
just to see if I could stand being in front of a camera and having my voice transmitted and like being kind of public, even in the smallest zero viewer kind of way.
Hmm. I think
And it turned out that I could.
Yeah, absolutely. Your voice is very soothing, and you have a like a calm aura to you that I think like I am so attracted to as a hyper guy. Like everyone in my stream knows, like, and you know me, like I'm pretty like whoa. So going into a stream like yours is almost like a meditative thing for me, even though I'm still going crazy in your chat and talking away and stuff. So you started with video games, and then how did you decide that you were going to go from games to something else?
At the time, my passion, the thing that I was sure was my life's pursuit, was brewing beer.
Okay.
So I'd been working in that industry, kind of working my way up. I started in a Budweiser plant, putting beer into cans and cans into boxes, boxes on the pallets,
Right.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Very unfulfilling, just soul grinding uh, day to
But
day.
you could smell the hops.
Um, you could smell stale beer. The hops were for the brewers.
Okay. Right.
Um, yeah, it was. I feel like smelling Budweiser and craving it is kind of like wanting McDonald's fries. Like you know, it's
What you're
not.
getting.
You know what you're getting, and you know that you can get better.
Right.
There's better out there,
Right.
but it's what you want in that moment. I don't know.
So do you think that gave you a little bit of gumption to go towards having, brewing beer because you're like, come on, I can do this better probably, or I can put a little bit of
Absolutely.
passion into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I moved from Budweiser to a craft brewing uh, brewery, a little craft
Mhm.
operation, and started in the cellar, which is maintaining the fermenters, monitoring fermentation, making sure everything's clean and sanitary, uh, doing the filtering and the carbonation of the beer. Super cool job. I really enjoyed it.
Well,
And it was unsupervised. Like my first grown up unsupervised position. They just like put me in the cellar after I was trained. Like, all right, clock out at 11. You know what you need to do. It was glorious.
do you think that was one of the major learning, stepping stones to doing the beer streams?
Yeah, yeah, that and putting all the equipment together.
Okay.
I saved for 2 years, uh, putting money together and getting the equipment and putting it in here. And then it was just like there's a camera over a pot and a camera in the corner, and then I was wearing a lav mic that one of my friends gave me, and just like trying to do my best, uh,
Wow.
just trying to figure it out.
And how did that go for you? Like stream wise, how like did you find it fulfilling? Was it interactive? Like what was it like?
I immediately, like after I had got it all put together and I invested a ton of time into like making the stream look like I was a streamer, you know,
Hmm.
uh, that there were major problems with trying to stream brewing. Uh, there's a brewer who inspired me while I was starting over on Mixer's Fourth Room Brewing, uh, who runs a successful brewing stream, and among other things that he does, but he does the full brew, which when I was doing the full brew, it's like a 7.5 hour stream day of just hot, sweaty work and cleaning and heavy, sticky. It was it was work, a long, hard day of work.
Of course.
So by the end of it, I'd be exhausted. I was doing one brewing stream a week. Uh, and when I was working, I couldn't interact with chat. It's hard to look at a screen while you're working. It's hard.
Mm.
And then visually speaking, it wasn't very interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I remember doing a brewing day and thinking, you know what people would like to watch is pottery. It would be awesome to get a pottery wheel. It's just an errant thought. It came in my head and it left, and I didn't think about it or address that thought again. I had no pottery experience, no ceramics experience. It was just kind of like a bubble or a spark in my brain that was there and then gone. And now here I am in that same space with a pottery wheel.
So to connect the dots there, you did do, so I mentioned watercolor earlier. So it went beer, then you thought this isn't visually appealing, let's do visual art. You did some watercolor. How long did that go for?
I did watercolor for 9 months,
Okay.
3 times a week. So holding the same schedule that I do now. I was 3 nights a week for about 3 hours.
And then what linked that step to the pottery?
What links that? I was finding that I'm not really super engrossed with the 2D creation process. And I realized I have money for tuition. I have a city college in town right here, and they have a nice ceramics program, and I have time to take the class. So I did it, and it's like something that I've been meaning to do for years, for a long time. When I moved to this town, one of my I had criteria. I said it needs to have a brewery, and it needs to have a city college. And I didn't know what the city college was for at the time when I made those criteria, but I figured it out. It was because I wanted to.
Because you're a smart man and you like to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. And so before you started the stream, you went and completed training for potting.
I took a singular beginning ceramics class.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say I completed anything.
Okay.
I began, and that class was almost entirely hand building. So just kind of learning how to move the clay. At the very end, we started throwing at the wheel, and I went out and bought my first wheel before the class was over and started streaming with my fledgling skills at the same time.
And so the bug got you immediately then. After you took that class, you're like, this is it. We're doing this.
Yep.
And we've been there ever since. How long have you been potting on stream?
Since January of 2019.
Okay, so we're getting 3 years and a bit.
Yeah, over 3 years now.
Well done. Okay, so how about we show some of your work? I'm going to show a slideshow right now just of some of Rhyno's work. And if anyone is interested, Rhonda's going to give the shout out in the chat. I will have all the links in the YouTube video for everything Rhyno Lion below. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go check that out. And right now we're just going to hand it over to a few pieces from Rhyno. So enjoy this little slideshow and enjoy his work. It's absolutely phenomenal. We'll talk a little bit more about his potting journey right after this.
Sure. I show the most exciting part of the process, which is changing the lump of clay into a shaped piece of pre-fired clay. Before that, the clay needs to be conditioned. So you mix it so that it's nice and smooth. You de-air it. There's a variety of ways to do that. I have a machine that does both of those. It's really nice. So there's the clay preparation. Then you shape it on the wheel or at the hand building table, however you end up making your piece. And at that point, it's called greenware. Once it's dry, it goes into a kiln. Actually, it should be loaded into a kiln before it's completely dry so that it's not at its most brittle stage when you're handling it. So you load it into the kiln with just a little bit of moisture left in the clay. You let it dry out, and then you slowly fire it to the point where you have driven out the molecular water that's in the clay molecules, at which point it stops being clay and becomes ceramic. It's much less brittle. You can bring it like a bell, and it's easier to handle in general than greenware. At that point, you will glaze it. I just do a simple dip and pour of my pieces so they get dunked into a bucket, and the porous nature of the clay absorbs water into it, which helps all the glaze materials stick to the surface. The glaze is basically clay in different proportions, designed to melt into a glassy surface and fuse completely with the clay body during the high fire, which is the next step. Once the pieces are glazed and the bottoms are cleaned, so there's no glaze on the bottom of the pieces, they get loaded into the high fire kiln and brought up to, in my case, I'm taking them up to about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a maybe 7-hour process. And then the next day, it's usually cool enough by noon or so to unload it and check out what you got. And from there, I like to polish the bottoms so that they're not gritty, so they don't scratch somebody's table. And then they get stacked into piles and piles here in the studio.
Oh man. Well, so this is like alchemy, man. There's science involved in this at every level. Especially when it comes to like doing the final, the finish on them. Like you explained that to me, and like I couldn't really wrap my head around it too easily. So how do you know what colors to do, or like do you select a certain color scheme and then do a whole lot that way, or do you do each piece individually? How does that usually get decided? Yes, there you are.
I can't hear you through our
Oh, sorry. One sec. Chat in
our
here.
video chat anymore.
That's okay. I restarted audio because it was breaking up in the chat. I'll be right back in the video. One sec. You can hear me now.
Yes, I can.
Sorry about that. While you were answering, my audio was chopping out, and Max had told me in chat. So what I did was I flicked my audio off and back on to fix that problem, and it cut it out of the video chat. So I apologize about that. Thank you very much. Sorry, you looked at me like, what? I was asking.
Yeah, just waiting.
Sorry. I was saying, like, that's quite a bit of alchemy going on there. Like, that is some serious science that you're dealing with, like understanding all those processes.
There's a lot of science involved in it. And if you really wanted to get into like the really detailed chemistry of it, you absolutely could pursue it. I have a hard time with like clipboards and planning ahead and things like that. So I do a lot of my work simply by intuition.
Cool.
And kind of a general understanding of the ratios that I need to make certain things happen. So get the outcomes I'm looking for.
Those colors and like the textures that you get on the final piece there, I was asking, like, I'm very interested, like, do you do that for a whole lot the same? Is it guessing, like, or do you have a set mind of color schemes that you're going to use on each individual piece?
A lot of the colors that I end up using, I've developed a bucket of it and made tweaks and then liked it and then made another one and hoped to get it close. Even within the same batch of glaze, in the same firing, even I can get a lot of variation in color from one piece to the next. So there's a lot of unknown involved in what's going to happen. It's variations in oxygen levels in the kiln, or how hot one spot gets versus how hot another spot gets. There's a lot just just within the firing itself that can change the way that a glaze acts. And then a glaze will look completely different over a dark clay versus a porcelain. Um, so there's so many mixtures and permutations and variables involved in making a glaze look the way that it looks. It's part of the reason that when somebody asks for a custom piece and has kind of a visual idea of what they want color wise, I'm really hesitant to take on a project like that, because
Mm.
it's kind of um, just a hope and pray kind of thing quite often with the
So
results that you're getting.
so then what makes you feel like a piece is great? How does that, if it's unpredictable, is it just what visually appealing to you, or like what do you consider a great piece and why?
A great piece, I think, will have balance. So it's going to be first balanced in the hand. It should not feel heavier than you expected it to when you pick it up. It shouldn't be so light that you're accidentally going to break it when you're using it. So that's a kind of balance. There should be visual balance. There should be darkness and highlights, and kind of what you're looking for in a painting. There should be uh, movement and some flow, I think, in addition to all the requirements for having like a useful utilitarian piece. So there's no like pinholes or um, separations in the glaze revealing bare clay, like on a food surface. There are all kinds of glaze faults that can crop up, and any of those will disqualify an otherwise beautiful piece from being a useful piece. I used to have a couple near to hand, but I've been cleaning.
It's okay. Um, what makes you happy, man?
What makes me happy? Man, I don't know. I'm just looking to for contentment, I guess, is
It's a great answer. I'm just curious because, like, I know that as an artist, creating things is what fulfills me the most, and it's also what eats me alive the most. And I know that
right.
for me, as a like, I don't have another job, so I always ask this question, and I'm not sure it means the same to everybody. But I'd like to ask you, how do you balance income and art, and being a creator, and trying to also feed your daughter?
Um, that's one that I've been grappling with. Actually, it's the question of when I she's going to school next year, so I'm going to have time during the day for the first time in 5 years. Um, do I want to like pursue the pottery and the streaming uh, with more dedication? Do I keep going after it, or do I kind of hold steady on the pottery, just do what I'm doing and go and make some money during the day? And it's tough. We'll see when I get to that moment what I choose. I have a feeling, like with the beautiful pottery, I'm going to strive for balance. So I'll give some extra time to my work and some extra time to uh, making money and making sure that my family is comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, that's a great answer, man. I mean, it's very difficult because when you're creating something, you're trying to put your heart and soul into it, and then there's a price put on it. That can be very weird. It's just a weird thing.
The whole money aspect of art is probably the part that I struggle with the most. If I could just make stuff and hand it off to somebody to manage a shop, I would probably be the happiest uh, in this pottery process. I really struggle with the whole mercantile side of things, where I have to hold a bowl and try and balance, like, well, it's beautiful. And if I say it's a $200 bowl, it might get valued as art, but people who want to use it as a bowl aren't going to be able to afford it. Uh,
That's a very difficult dichotomy, especially when you're making utilitarian pieces that are also artistic. Like that's very difficult, dude. Um, I will say one thing to you that I noticed is when you were sculpting recently, you ventured off. I mean, it wasn't recently, but a few months ago, I saw you doing some sculpting work and some busts and dude, you were you were glowing, man. You were is that a newfound love for you? Do you think?
I think it is, and I'm excited to get back into it and kind of get set up so that it's a easier thing to do. Because right now the whole stream is kind of centered around the wheel.
Of course.
Um, so when I'm working on a bust, it sits right here in front of the camera. It's difficult, but um, yeah, I really enjoy it. One of those pieces exploded in the kiln recently, so
Oh no.
I got to learn the pain of firing an object that had like 30 hours of work
Oh,
into it. It's one of the reasons that I like throwing cups so much. It's like a
y-
minute of throwing, and then you go through the steps and you get a bunch of cups. And if one explodes, who cares?
yeah. I talked to another streamer before you today, actually, Carlo. He's called the Stream Scribe, and he does digital art now, but he used to do pen and ink. And I'm like, oh, so you can take chances now and just click a button and go backwards? He's like,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm like, that's the freedom that you never had with pen and ink, right? Similar with a cup. Like if you lose one, it's not as devastating as that as a bust. But yeah, that's very cool, man. Did you want to throw something for us? I would love it
yeah.
if you're able to do that.
I should be able to. Let me make a couple adjustments here.
Of course, and I will give it to you, man. I'll turn my microphone off if you want to talk the chat through it. That would be super cool. And take your time and do what you do.
All right, I'll try not to belabor this too much. I just
Yeah, I'll let you do some setup. Take your time.
oh, you have to look at my knees. Ah, ah. This is how I get the viewers. Show a little skin. I'll just do something simple. I don't really have a plan here. And it seems like one of those, like, oh, geez, I sure wasn't expecting you to ask me to do that. Let me.
He's kind of ready. We'll let him. But anyways, here he goes. This is my favorite part when he does a little bit of wheel art for us.
I was actually not planning on throwing, but here we are. I'm happy to do it. So I'm currently on the longest break I've ever taken from consistently streaming. I normally stream 3 nights a week on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. But I haven't sat down to the wheel in, I think it's 3 weeks now. I've kind of lost track of time. So if I'm a little rusty, that's why. So the process you're seeing now is centering. And the idea is to get the clay first affixed to the wheel and then symmetrical and even in the center. So you can see just a little bit of sideways shimmy here down at the bottom. That's not too big a deal, but that's the kind of thing that centering is looking to smooth out. If you don't get your clay centered, that's where the uneven, wobbly lip comes from, generally speaking. It's one of the ways you can cause a wobbly lip. So now this is opening. I'm basically determining where the bottom of the vessel is going to be. Oh, it's good to be back on the wheel. I've been missing this. I've been spending a lot of time and energy trying to get some projects done, studio improvement, stream improvement, troubleshooting with microphones and electronics. And I haven't been out to just sit and enjoy the clay in all that time. And I could kind of feel it, feel the lack I've spent so long coming out and getting to be creative and make things with my hands on a regular basis. I think I'd come to take for granted how much I enjoy it. With the bowl, one of the things that I'm thinking about is the smooth curvature, the shape on the inside. So I want to be able to roll a marble down one side of it and have it roll up the other side without bouncing. Just a continuous curve. Among all the other things that I need to be thinking about, like, do I have enough water on my hands? Do I have too much water on the clay? If your hands don't slide on the clay, then you will twist the clay because of the torque from the turning wheel. If you use too much water, the clay will turn soggy. You'll lose the structure and it will flop like an angry toddler. Final touches, we're going to think about the shape of the lip. And somewhere I have a sponge to do the last little bit, but that's the bowl form. I was taking my time a little bit. Sure. Do you want me to cut it in half too? Some people enjoy that, and some people are just like devastated by the dissection process. Okay. Just make sure you come back this time. Don't leave me alone. So the next steps in the process will be to set this aside and let it dry. Clay has a tendency to remember when it's been shaped. So if I were to try and pick this up, it would kind of taco a little bit. It would fold. And then even if I sat it down and let it dry flat, later when it was fired, it would return to that kind of folded shape, even slightly. So you'd end up with an out of round bowl. So for this, since Kev doesn't want me to destroy it, we'll just remove the bat, set it aside. We're going to let it dry to about leather hard. It means what it sounds like. It's going to have the consistency of leather, and I'll be able to pick it up without warping it.
Okay, I think everyone can hear me now. You can hear me, Rhyno? Rhyno? No? Oh, chat can hear me,
and
but not me. I'll try again.
We're back. What else can I talk about? I can't see chat, so I can't like fill in the dead air.
Now you can hear me.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, sorry. Okay, rock and roll. I'm gonna put it back to the interview here. Right on. Thanks, man. Thanks for doing that.
Happy to.
I've had this happen to me a number of times, actually. In the last interview I did as well, my audio kept, for some reason, out of nowhere, just going blipping in and out, I guess. I don't know what's happening. I have to listen to the playback and sort it, but tech is tech.
That's so frustrating, man.
Tech is tech, man. I'm just going to put on the YouTube video, I'll edit in, I don't know what I'm doing on the screen, and it'll be funny, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
That was very cool. But yeah, everything you did sounded great and looked great, man. And I wanted to ask you, because I'm a musician and I do enjoy the end of your streams when you do a Didge Jam, how did you get into playing and getting your hands on a didgeridoo?
Kind of similar to the way that I got into pottery, where you see it and you think, oh, that's cool. And then you see it again, like within the same week. Like I had never seen a didgeridoo before. Now I'm seeing it multiple times in different places. It's kind of just like a confluence of events. I don't really know, but I saw like a street performer, and then I saw a YouTube video, and then I don't know, maybe maybe the algorithm was on to me and just put these things in front of me. But so I bought just a beginner didgeridoo, and turned out that circular breathing is super easy for me.
Which
Which
is,
is fun.
yeah, that's absurd that it is. Like, it's one of the most difficult things to do. And every time I'm in your stream, I'm trying to explain to people, like, you don't even know what's going on right now.
And then it's just been a matter of trying to figure out how to make it sound cooler. Ever after I figured out how to get the breaths going, figuring out how to make different sounds, how to make the sounds and not accidentally run out of air, and those are the biggest challenges. And then I don't have any musical background, or any like latent understanding of how it works. So like you're getting 4/4 from me, you know.
Me too.
I'd love to do some cool rhythmic stuff that like as a rhythm artist, but I don't understand it. I don't.
I mean, I think just exploring the instrument is what any other person does who is self-taught. And so, like, as a musician myself, and this is where I can open up a little bit and I can kind of relate a little bit to you. Is like, I did the same thing with the guitar, man. Like, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I'm just gonna do what I do. But then you find your groove and you get good at what you do, and you do what you do, and that becomes your thing, you know. So, I mean, I wouldn't discount it. And how long did it take you to learn to circular breathe? Because I think that is the most impressive thing. I've tried it. I mean, I didn't stick to it. I've tried to learn it a couple times or just do it for like 30 seconds, and I can't even do one circle of it at once.
A half hour.
What?
I figured it out in a half hour. Yeah.
Oh man, you were meant for this.
Um, it was quick. Like all the other stuff took a long time to build and put together, but the basics of circular breathing came to me pretty quickly.
Yeah, and what made you decide to add it to the end of the stream? Is just another. Okay, so first off, I want to say, like, this is another thing where you're like chasing mastery for yourself of a certain thing that will never be attained. That's the beautiful thing about art, is like you can go after that mastery, and you can try, you can feel the goals along the way and enjoy them, but you can go at it forever. So how did you decide to add it to the stream is my question.
I don't know. It just occurred to me one day, like, hey, should I go get this thing? I know how to play it. It might be fun.
That's
I
great.
think I was trying to like drive. You remember Embers on Mixer?
Oh yes.
Embers had just come out. I was like, I need to be able to do a cool thing. I need to add a cool thing,
Right.
as like a fun interactive thing that they can get me to do with their money, their Mixer bits.
Yeah.
So I tried it and it was fun. It turned out that I was getting a lot more practice that way than if I just never played ever.
Right.
So I just kept it going.
That's amazing, dude. I mean, we close our streams with a special song every time, Freebird, which is, yeah, and you kind of do the same thing with the Didge. Would you like to take us out with a short performance here and give us a little rumbling of the didgeridoo right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me give it a toot and we can see if it sounds good, and then I'll dive in.
That's fine. I mean, there's some things that are probably going to go on this Video Ninja that there's probably some sort of noise suppression that might happen that's beyond our control. I don't have control of it, so
if there's noise suppression happening, then I don't want to sit here for 3 minutes just making awful robot noises. So I'm gonna do a quick little drone, and then I'm gonna stop and we can check in and see how it sounds. And then if it all goes good, then I'll dive in.
Sounds great.
For you. Okay, I have to mute this microphone. It's too hot.
Perfect. Seems to be working pretty good, actually.
Yep. Chat happy?
Yeah.
All right.
Go for it, man. Let her have it.
Oh, you can hear me right now.
Yep, we're all good. We're jamming. Holy moly. Everyone in chat, put your hands together. Hopefully my audio sounds good. I just muted it and unmuted it. How you doing, man, over there? That was awesome.
I can hear you. I hope my audio is coming across.
Everything is great. Actually, it sounded pretty good, dude. It didn't suppress the sound very much at all.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, it was trying to a little bit here and there, but honestly, it didn't affect it very much, and I loved it. It was a great jam, dude.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you too much more because I know when you do the didgeridoo, it makes your mouth all numb, and it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of breath out of you. So
mostly it's the bee sting look that follows.
Oh yeah,
I've got the energy. It's just the like. Don't look at me.
It's all good. I just want to say thank you so much because I wanted to have you because you're such an interesting individual, and I know that a lot of people say this to me. And I'm going to say it to you, but you've helped me through some times, man, watching your stream and having your balanced approach and your balanced look on the world and your very calm and your very grounded personality has honestly given me some hope and some, I just want to say thank you. That's all, dude. I'm just trying to say that from the bottom of my heart, and I hope it means something to you because it's hard to say thank you and give somebody a hug through a computer screen, but I just want to give you a digital hug, dude. Thank you so much.
I really do appreciate that. It means a lot. The whole point, I think, of continuing to do the stream is to provide a place and a space for people to be able to kind of recenter and take a breath. If that's helped you, then
yeah,
then it's worth
it. It did, man, and I know that it has for others, and I know that it will for others. So anybody who is watching this, I highly recommend just go over and follow the channel and hit the notification bell. It's twitch.tv/Rhyno Rhyno Lion, RHYNOLION. And if you go over there and hit the follow button notifications, next time he goes live, you can check in. You don't have to say anything, but you can watch and just feel the vibe and feel the rhythm and cool runnings, man. But yeah, I really enjoy the stream, man. So I hope some people venture over and check you out, and I'll let you do your thing now. And I want to thank you for all of the performances. We had 3 different performances from you today. That was super awesome. Lots of content, and everyone who's watching on YouTube, all of Rhyno's links will be in the description below, and everyone who's on Twitch, it's a shout out for Rhyno is in the chat right now. Go give him a follow. All right. Rhyno, my man, thank you very much. I'm going to kick it back over to the ending screen here. I'm going to let you do your thing, and I hope to see you online pretty soon, my man.
All right, Kev, I'll see you around. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Everyone, welcome back to me, just me again. It gets a little boring when it's just me. I have had 2 interesting people here today. These episodes are actually going to be coming out on YouTube. Actually, I'm gonna hold one episode back. So if you guys sorry about that. I just got a little bit of audio in my ears and echo there. So if you guys are watching on YouTube, sorry, I have filmed 2 of these on Twitch today. They will be coming out a week late. So Rhyno's episode is actually not going to be out tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. So everybody, everything is going to be held back 1 week. So if you're watching it here on Twitch, you can watch the VOD on Twitch right away. It is activated for you guys. I want to say thank you for hanging out and watching. We've had some technical difficulties that I'm just going to power my way through. There's nothing I can do about them because I can't even troubleshoot them when they just happen out of nowhere. So thank you for putting up with everything that's gone on with all my audio and everything. Thank you to all my guests. Thank you to everyone watching in chat right now. Thank you, Rhyno, for the subscription as well. And I will throw it over to my moderators here in my Twitch chat who are going to raid somebody. If you're watching on YouTube, come on over to Twitch. All of my information is popping up right here below me. And I'll see you guys next time for another streamer next week.